the Around the NFL podcast. Knows how to pronounce GIF, or is it GIF?
From the Chris Wessling podcast studio, it's Around the NFL. I'm Dan Hanzus. I have heroes here, Marc Sessler, Gregg Rosenthal, and the great tiny box, Connie Fox, Colleen Wolfe.
Ew.
All one person.
What's up?
Hi.
Is
How are you?
everything straight over there? You seem to be fiddling with a lot of things before we start. Lining up your papers and your pens.
I am. This
You
is,
all right?
you know, this is the Bongo God's very busy day.
A bongo god.
So I got a lot going on here, and I'm just, but I love the Tuesday show because it's fun and it's looser. And Colleen is here.
Yay.
And she has her own theme song.
That's
That's
right.
nice, Marc.
I think it's an excellent feature for her to have.
Marc,
Do you want a theme
Marc
song?
Bot is here.
Yes,
Wait,
I want
was
a
that
theme.
an impression of,
I don't know.
the Marc Bot?
I don't know.
That was a human trying to express happiness for another person.
I am happy for
Marc,
her.
are you
actively.
unhappy that I'm here?
No, I am always excited when you're here because
Okay.
I think it adds a levity to the room, a different layer of analysis
Yeah.
and fun.
That's great. You can keep going if you want.
Yeah,
That's good. How are you, Greg?
it's
I
like a
love
human
Colleen
PR
too.
machine.
I love Colleen too.
Great.
Good. You got to
It's a
get that
good
on.
One of my
Start.
favorites.
Get that on the record. Coming up on today's show, there are 4 weeks remaining in the regular season. So this is a good time to take a step back and, who has the most at stake in our league over the final 4 weeks of the regular season? Is the segment, Marc, clear to you before we begin?
Yes, I believe it is. On Mondays, we're all very busy.
Yes.
I typically don't check my text messages as much as I should.
Mm-hmm.
And I was scrolling through, attempting to find out what
Doom
the segment,
scrolling.
what the segment was actually about. And so I did have a question or two for you because I think what this applies to Colleen too. You like to go in if you're going to prepare for something.
It's crazy to want to prepare for a
no,
show.
I know. Everyone else let's just
Like,
have a
please.
great old time and just roll spaghetti around.
Sue me.
Yeah.
Classic guy doesn't really know food, throwing food into the conversation and hoping it works.
I feel somewhat crystal clear on what it's
Oh, good.
about.
Excellent. It's going to be a good combo. It is only 4 weeks in the regular season. That's good. That's good.
It's a lot of spaghetti to roll.
A lot of spaghetti rolling all over the place. What else do we have today? We have a Thursday night preview. Huge game for two teams, the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. NFC West on the line, I believe.
Yep.
It's a hat and T-shirt game, as Kirk Cousins was
That's
talking
right.
about. And yet it could be a tie at the top of the division if
I
the
wonder,
Seahawks win.
Marc, if your take last week was spot on, that Kirk Cousins doomed the Vikings the moment he said the game at Ford Field was a hat and
I
T-shirt
don't
game.
get why you
Never
would
say it.
ever allow that to get out in public
Let
on
the
any
media
level.
say it.
Right.
Well, I think for Kirk, he is just so excited about the hat and T-shirt.
Yeah, but he's
it's
gotta learn.
It's like a birthday party, and he's 10 years old.
And he never got
that's
invited to birthday parties when he was a kid, so he's got a bit of a Michael Scott as a child thing going on, and now this is his opportunity.
No, I feel like he had friends when he was a child. He's so likable and easy.
I don't know. I don't know anything about Kirk Cousins.
Dan was a bully.
I was not. I was actually I was kind of a sweet, more quiet child. You might be surprised by that.
You were a middle child, I believe.
I was.
before
Still am.
before he turned into a monster.
A total monster. All right. And before we get to that, we're going to do some news. I want to get something off my chest. I would do it during the It's About Me segment coming up on Friday, but this Friday, very exciting. Connor Orr, our dear friend from Sports Illustrated and former Around the NFL alum, is going to be sitting in on the show, and he will be sharing his favorite holiday movies of 2022. He's been keeping me abreast of the situation for months.
This
Awesome.
year's release?
Yes, he sits down with his wonderful wife, and they just pour through Christmas movies at a really almost like a disturbing clip. We're talking he'll take in 5-6 movies a week, and he's going to share some of his favorite this year.
How does he have time to do that?
Connor's not like other people. And I mean that with the highest regard for the man. He just operates at a kind of a different speed, and I think he found a life partner that is with
That's
him.
incredible.
When I went to London with Connor and we were going up and down the hallway, heard them on a phone conversation together, and my thought was, these two gel. They just really
All right, we're
seem
gonna
to
talk
like
about
each
that
other.
That's hot.
with Connor on Friday. But what I was saying was, since I can't take the It's About Me slot this week, can I just share one thing that's really on my radar?
We'll think about it.
It's too late. I've already started. I'm a monster. On Sunday, I'm watching Jets-Bills, tense game. Obviously, it's that game starts as a defensive struggle, teams feeling each other out, 10 straight punts to start the game. And they come back from break at the end of the first quarter, and there's Tracy Wolfson grabbing the head coach of the Bills. Let's listen into the entirety of the interview.
Coach, a slow start offensively, 3 punts, and now the sack that Allen just took. How much is this weather affecting what you guys want to do?
Yeah, I mean, we're not in a rhythm. That's the bottom line, regardless of the weather at this point.
You talk about the run game. We talked about it. Just 24 yards. In this weather, how important is it to establish the run?
You got to be able to establish a line of scrimmage.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so this isn't a criticism of Tracy Wolfson, who does a great job for CBS. It is a criticism of the entire concept of these interviews, and they're weird enough when they come out of the half and the coaches are in a mindset of, but to do it in between quarters, that just seems next level, and I don't know who it's for.
Didn't
Who
they
is it
get,
for?
sure
didn't they
that
get that
wasn't
from like Major League Baseball?
Pre-taped?
Even
No,
Out of the
they've
half?
been doing in between quarters lately. I've noticed that.
But who
on
is that
CBS.
for? I know it shows that the broadcast has access, but it really doesn't if you actually listen to the interview. So who is that?
The producers of the show.
I
would say
have
it probably
a solution.
stops and starts right there.
Because this has been on my radar too, and I feel
Okay.
like no one wins. Like, it's bad for the reporter, it's bad for the coach, it's bad for the audience. You never get
That's what I'm
anything from that
saying.
interview. I would love for them to interview one of the players that did something interesting in the game that we saw already. So
Players
whether
would
it
be
was
better.
like
They would.
a rookie that scored for the first time, or someone who came up with a big play, or someone who was like a third stringer that did something cool, like that would actually give a little bit of juice to that interview. I
I'm
think.
also like, the coach is like, here's, they're about to kick off, and the coach has got his headset off, and he's over here talking to Tracy Wolfson or fill in the blank.
Nightmare.
Dan Campbell was the one exception, though. Dan Campbell came out, and maybe that wasn't the quarter, but it
was
half.
half. It was
But,
half.
but
At Thanksgiving.
either way, Dan Campbell chose to use it as a chance to engage. I think people if you are a coach that wants to get known better, you could use it in a positive way, but most of them, 99%, you get nothing but like ultra fluff out of it.
And we called that out. Campbell is the exception that proves the rule that it's just, I don't know.
Players would be great. I don't think the teams would agree to it because players.
You don't know what they're
It would
gonna
be
say.
perfect
It'd be
because
great.
you would have a defensive player on if the offense is coming on
Right.
next, or vice versa, and so they actually might say something like, "Oh, what about this play?" But teams would never allow it because they'd be
I mean, they're
afraid
doing
that'd
it
be
in
some
MLB,
sort of
like they
bulletin
do-
board
they do it
material.
Garrett Wilson,
playoffs.
how is Zach Wilson doing?
Right, and I'm more on the side of like, just let these guys. They have to be at an elite headspace to succeed in our league. Just leave everybody alone until after the game. You did see it in MLB, and they were interviewing guys with an earpiece like on the field, and I'm like, if that ever happened, if Aaron Judge missed the fly ball that knocked the Yankees out of the playoffs because he was talking to Chris Rose or something, it would be like an apocalypse. Can we just calm down with the quote unquote access?
If I would pay money, genuine money, to have Evan Washburn like after a first quarter of a game, like. So Matt Patricia gonna call another screen there, Bill? You know, it's like just to see what would happen.
I would make an exception for Evan Washburn only, just because I want to see the well-adjusted Patrick Bateman more. I just need him more
of that
in my life.
Sure.
All right, let's do some news.
The history is very rich here.
I didn't think we'd find it, Colleen.
I know. You know what? Shout out to the Reddit because they find everything.
They found it, Connie, and we have a treasure trove of various golf courses in the Poconos region of Pennsylvania. Not just one episode. We have the entire season of Connie on Golf with an elderly gentleman as the co-host. And
Harry
his-
Donahue.
Harry Donahue.
Mm-hmm.
It is a rich
to work
history.
with? How was Harry to work
Oh,
with?
Harry's a dream.
Class act?
Yeah, he's awesome.
We should
Love
get
Harry.
these tapes to Connor. That's my favorite Christmas movie. It's just Connie on Golf.
All right, let's get.
Pretty good.
Okay, I've never played.
There's one point in one of the videos where
I know nothing about golf.
you walk a hole with a golf pro at one of the courses.
Uh-huh.
And before he shoots, he's like, "Oh, you set yourself up pretty well. You got about 105 yards to the pin." And I'm like, "There's no
I'm getting, like,
chance
PTSD.
she has any idea what she's saying right now. This was clearly fed to the tiny box."
Absolutely. Like, I will say that is 100% accurate. I know nothing about golf, and I hosted a golf show for a while.
Well, you pulled it off.
Did I?
I don't know.
Did
Were
I?
you fired?
I wasn't. I
People are
wasn't
still
fired.
talking about it years later. So
You walked away under your own accord.
Good.
You know what? It was pretty good.
all
Great
right.
gig.
As suspected, and I know, Gregg, you covered this on the Monday Night Football recap between the Cardinals and Patriots. Kyler Murray went down with that non-contact injury on the third play from scrimmage on Monday, and yes, he tore his ACL in his knee, misses obviously the remainder of the 2022 season, and the timing of it happening in mid-December obviously puts into question his availability for a part of the 2023 season. Everyone's different, but just as an example, Odell Beckham tore his ACL in early February, and we're hearing he won't be ready to come back at all this year. Everyone's different, but Murray's got a uphill climb, and he knows it, and that's why his reaction was the way it was on the field. So here we go, Mark. It's Colt McCoy to finish out a lost season for Arizona that, yeah, there's levels to this in terms of the devastation for the organization. I
don't think HBO knew that they were going to be telecasting essentially a horror film by chronicling this team over the course of a month plus.
Last year, by the way, the in-season Hard Knocks was the Colts.
Right.
I would think twice if I was a team going forward.
I do also wonder why the Cardinals are getting all these primetime games because of this HBO thing. I don't know. That's a next level question. But it is a rough,
you got Gregg
ugly
thinking.
Ending to a terrible season. And, I mean, really, like, this journey began with last offseason and Kyler Murray talking about the contract and having the agent do this or that, and we spent all these months doing it, and then the team completely flatlines. They look about as disorganized on offense and schemeless and without a plan as any team in the NFC, and Kyler Murray didn't really save them or help them that much out of that problem this year. I have a weird question. I will say this.
Oh, I love this.
Immediately you'd say, of course not, because he's injured. But does it, if the Cardinals just blow everything up and they're looking for assets, does it make Kyler Murray more tradable to a team that says, we get it, we lose him for a chunk of next year, but we believe we can do what the Cardinals couldn't, and Kyler Murray goes somewhere else entirely versus running this back?
I don't think he's tradable because of the injury. Why? And I don't think they'd want to trade him. Why would they? I want to keep Kyler Murray. I just want to see
That's probably the logical answer.
Right, what he looks like with a different coach. And I didn't totally realize it in the moment, just like, oh, this was the end of something last night. I think this was the end of the Murray, Cliff Kingsbury era. It's that injury.
You could kind of see it on Kingsbury's face. I think that he kind of knew that too. Because
he was so stressed in that game.
I mean, I felt like even the whites of his eyes were just like blazing red when they panned to him on the sideline. Like you could see the stress literally oozing out of his eyes. Like this has been such a bad season for them, and the future is so uncertain for not only Kingsbury but Steve Keim too. And I don't know what they're going to do, what the plan will be for next season to fill in the spot at quarterback, because you never know when he's going to be back and when he's going to be healthy enough to play, because that's such a big part of his game, moving around.
It's interesting too, yes, and you hope he comes back and is the same guy before the injury. But I actually had the opposite thought, that I wondered if Murray now exiting the picture, so these final 4 games for Kingsbury, is no one's even going to factor anything in how the team closes. Does that somehow, in a way, help Kingsbury keep his job and then gets a fresh start with Murray back eventually next year? I mean, could you put it past this team after what they did to the previous offseason?
I would say I wouldn't put it past maybe the ownership because of the contract extension they also gave Cliff Kingsbury and Keim. And maybe you try to just chalk this up as everything went wrong. We're going to try this again. But I think there's enough evidence to suggest that like another year of Cliff Kingsbury is not going to look drastically different than this. And I tend to agree, even though I asked the question, like that, like your asset is Kyler Murray. And maybe if you think, I know it's not Sean Payton, but someone can come in and do with Kyler Murray what other great QB whisperers do with other quarterbacks, and then you can sell that to people. I don't think you can sell this to Cardinals fans. Again,
I think this actually is the most logical place for Sean Payton, just because I think they'd hand over all the controls and all the money potentially to let him just do whatever he wanted. And there's a quarterback there. I looked up the numbers. You could trade him like after June 1st without dealing with the salary cap complications. Before that, you couldn't. They right now would be projected to have the 6th pick in the draft, though, so it's not the craziest thing to ask, certainly.
I mean, look how they got Kyler Murray and who they had before that, so they will think differently. It's the same GM. Maybe not then, though.
A morose Jason Zumwalt on text, noted Cardinals fan, voice of God, on our program, said that he felt like that his team was going to be in the darkness for like decades. And I said to him,
he's experienced that. So
yes, and my reply was, these things can turn around quickly in the NFL, as we know, but I think the first, you got to get this brain trust figured out in Arizona, and now it's complicated by the one guy that you kind of saw as potentially a superstar on the roster, and he is now
you do have a remarkable,
compromised.
Sturdy, well-respected backup to take you through this darkness until the end of the season. And maybe the beginning
did annoy me that he didn't play well against the Patriots.
He did not play well,
night.
and that game needed some juice.
The one time I needed Colt McCoy to play well, he looked like,
Did you tweet something like, we're all Colt McCoy or something like that? That threw me. I was like, what is going on with Dan here? Because I've never...
What was there? It's pretty easy to follow the thread on that one.
I mean, you just complimenting Colt McCoy in general to me.
To defeat the Patriots, who are in a playoff race
I thought he played okay.
We aren't...
If you're worried about the Patriots...
Jets fans are, yeah.
Like anyone that likes a little Patriots shouting for it, just wait for the next couple weeks. It's coming. This team is done. So last night did not matter.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. All right,
did you watch the game on Monday?
All right, let's move on. Weird situation developing in Atlanta. I'm seeing this reported in The Athletic that Marcus Mariota has left the team, and there's no indication on when or if he will return. This comes, of course, a day after head coach Arthur Smith announced that the team had made a, quote, performance-based decision to bench Mariota in favor of third-round rookie Desmond Ridder. Obviously, the media covering the Falcons is going to ask about this, and here's what Arthur Smith had to say today.
It's Marcus who you anticipate going on IR? And
I would anticipate that, yeah. And that had nothing to do with the move here, Josh, but there's, like a lot of athletes, some chronic, nothing that's been an issue this season, but that's their prerogative. And so, as this happens, that's why we signed Logan on Saturday, to make sure we have depth there. And we'll, once that decision is made, then I'll update you. But he's not here right now. So in case, just giving you full transparency.
All right, so just to clarify, there is a quote-unquote chronic knee injury that's leading to the team putting Marcus Mariota on IR, but that doesn't pass the smell test, Gregg.
Well, he said it. He left the team. That was the reporting, too, from The Athletic.
Right. If you go to IR, it doesn't mean you're allowed to just leave the team. I'll see you next July, just for people,
right.
For clarity.
I think he's being put on IR because he left the team, not the other way around.
Marcus checked in about our show in the same capacity.
I think it's a great thing to do to your workplace in a certain pinch, but I don't think it applies to NFL
yes,
quarterback.
Mark, you could step away for a podcast-based IR, but you'd still have to come to the office. You can't disappear. And Mark is like, all right, keep me on the active roster.
I think Mark and I are aligned that we like this move for Mariota. Just saying, you know what, things are not working out here. I'm going to go.
He did have.
I could not agree more.
His wife, did also just have a child. You guys mentioned, and so it's like a paternity leave. But it's quite a move. The second time he's been benched by Arthur Smith in the middle of a season, once for Ryan Tannehill. And Arthur Smith, who is not very transparent with the media, it was interesting there. He offered up information he didn't have to and said, just to be transparent. He's also the guy that's like, I'm not moving off Mariota at all. I promise I'm not moving off Mariota at all. And then he did it, and now Logan Woodside would be your Falcons starter should anything happen to Desmond Ridder in these last final 4 weeks.
I want all the fantasy owners out there that still have a pulse in the playoffs, that want to pick up a streaming defense, to take a look at who the Atlanta Falcons play in the final 4 weeks. And make
or if they, God forbid, ever won the division, which is not beyond comprehension, and then something happened to Desmond Ridder, and Logan Woodside is starting a playoff game, and I want like a garage door to close on my body at that point. So
I think Ridder will be good. I think he'll be at least as good.
You could just not watch also.
Well, that circles back to what we were just discussing about my employee here, so that doesn't apply.
All right. Yes, Mr. Here comes Justin off the top turnbuckle to dunk on Marcus Mariota. Here we go, former Titans quarterback.
This is just because we mentioned it on the Friday Fun show, but not everyone is always tuned into every show, so I just wanted to reiterate that Mark will now be allowed to keep his shirt on for every podcast episode until the next time he declares that he would do it.
But we did leave open the possibility that he still could take his shirt off if he chooses.
If he wants to. I think everyone would appreciate it.
This was tied to Mariota not starting every game.
Right.
Which I vowed he would not.
Right.
But I knew that when I said that, so there's no drama attached to this update.
All right, that's what's happening in the news. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we will get into our, what are we calling this seg? This is
Figuring it out live.
Let's see.
That's good.
What is this segment?
Most on the line.
Oh, yeah, no.
I don't. That's
so like figures.
Now we're talking how the sausage gets made. Oh. Yeah, we're talking about. All right, we're gonna think during the break. We'll be right back.
Head in vice grip.
On the line.
All right, here we go. We'll be right back.
Are you ready?
Let's go!
It's a Saturday triple header. Only on NFL Network.
Lose yourself in a moment.
First, the Colts battle the Vikings.
Touchdown!
Then, the Ravens face the Browns.
Going in! Touchdown!
And the Dolphins take on the Bills in prime time.
I'm him!
Back to back to back.
I made you look.
It's a Saturday showdown triple header. Saturday starting at 1, only on NFL Network.
Welcome back. We thought it over. And we've decided the name of this segment is something about steaks.
Steaks dinner?
Steaks dinner.
God forbid we prepare ahead of time, Dan.
All right, steaks, high stakes.
Stakes are high.
Stakes are high.
Stakes is high, a classic De La Soul album. You thought their peak was past, but they came back for one more banger.
Nice, I like that.
Okay,
That's
cool.
good. How about sloppy steaks?
Sloppy
in honor
steaks
of,
actually would be
Tim
kind of
Robinson of I think you should leave fame. All right, sloppy steaks. Here we go.
Sloppy steaks.
Sloppy steaks at your Bonnie's.
Working title, as we're known for. All right, let's get into it. 4 weeks to go in the regular season. Some players, teams, what have you, coaches, GMs, owners, who knows, have higher stakes than others as we come down the stretch of this regular season. Gregg Rosenthal, get us going.
Put a steak on it?
Put the steak on the grill. Get it sizzling.
Don't be annoyed that I'm going to talk about Geno Smith, because actually I don't think we've hit him that much lately, but the stakes are genuinely high. I
agree.
I think
you lost Mark already.
I think he's the answer.
This is apt. It's apt.
He's a free agent after this year. The Seattle Seahawks have
It's
the
apt,
number 2 overall pick in the draft, but that draft's not till late April. Still annoys me. The draft is after free agency. I think eventually we could get that changed if we complain about it enough.
You got another It's About Me here.
Yeah,
I like it.
That's how it is, though. And so Geno Smith has to sign a contract before then. The Seattle Seahawks have to decide what to do with Geno Smith before then. He's proven he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. To me, he's proving that he should be the Seattle Seahawks starting quarterback next year, because if you have an above-average starter at this point, you got to just keep him. Whatever the cost is going to be, whether that's a franchise tag or a long-term deal, you need to make it happen. But I'm not totally sure, and I'm definitely not assuming that the next 4 weeks won't be instructive. They've got some tough matchups starting with Thursday night, which we can talk about later. But how he plays in these last 4 weeks is going to affect his career with the Seahawks or his career around the league. I don't know how the other teams are going to view Geno Smith, but I think people remember the end, and whether if this stays at the same level or goes down, and he's been a little more up and down, I would say, over the last 4 or 5 weeks, not as consistently just amazing, that's going to affect his future.
I think, barring a collapse, he wins Comeback Player of the Year. He'd be my vote. There's a couple other candidates, but there's got to be multiple teams, if Seattle ever went in another direction, that have to view this as a marketable player who recreated himself. And even when he's had some of these I get that there's been a few more turnovers. It hasn't been like the pristine metrics and numbers of some of the earlier showings for Geno, but he still every week is doing pretty amazing Geno-esque things. And I think it's more about the rest of the offense, kind of on the run game and stuff right now, exposing him a bit. But Geno Smith, to me, like, absolutely would get a starting job somewhere else if Seattle ever passed. I don't know if Geno Smith's the guy I'd want to, like, let's bring in a first-round rookie and have Geno be super cool to him and hope that goes well. Maybe. I don't know.
He is such a he's become now something of an afterthought to a bit of a fascinating offseason figure, because, if the Seahawks do decide not to bring him back Or even if they do and they give him the bit, how much do you pay Geno Smith? Like,
that's what I mean.
What is his value on the open market? Like, do you pay Geno Smith $35 million a year?
What if it's like Derek Carr's type contract or something?
That's what Derek Carr makes, though. So that's what I mean. And I do
then
think
you have to.
He's got the 49ers this week. You've got the Chiefs and the Jets. It's a tough closing stretch here, too. And I think if he gets them into the playoffs and you watch like a nice Geno playoff performance, he's going to make more because of it, and he's going to be more likely to be in Seattle, I think, because of it.
They couldn't beat a bad Panthers team at home. Like, he's lost me a little bit over the past couple weeks.
Bad? What did we talk about on the Power Rankings podcast this morning?
That's different podcast. These are
different
two
takes.
different shows.
Got you.
The Panthers are a little bit like my pet team. I have adopted them. But Geno...
You just said they suck.
I'm just saying that the Seahawks should have beat them.
Some pets suck.
Right, but I think people...
Like, I love them just the same, even if I don't think they're great.
Okay.
People can separate the quarterback from the rest of the team a little bit. But I do think that's why the stakes are high, that he has to finish off what he started on some level. And I'm confident he will, because he hasn't really shown it. Even if he plays at that level like he did on Sunday or the last couple of weeks throughout the next month, that'll be enough. But football is unpredictable. He could make himself a lot of money or he could lose. I think Seattle will want to keep him ultimently.
The stakes are high. You nailed it.
Okay.
Stakes are sloppy.
Sloppy steaks at your
Nailed
Bonnie's.
it. Stakes are sizzling. The seg is
Use
fire.
all the titles. I like that.
Let's stick with quarterbacks since we're here. And I want to talk about two guys that you'd say, like, what's their connection? But they kind of sneaky have an interesting connection. I refer to Jets QB Mike White. I refer to 49ers QB Brock Purdy. These are two guys that have a real opportunity in these last 4 weeks to make their team think long and hard about some big decisions they made in a draft a year and a half ago. Because Zach Wilson in the 2021 draft went number 2 overall. Trey Lance in the same draft went the next pick, number 3 overall. Zach Wilson has bombed out this year, and he may, I think maybe they listened to the podcast, the Jets, or maybe they just watched the tape. It sounds like Zach Wilson, if Mike White plays on Thursday, will be elevated to active duty as the backup quarterback. They got to get Flacco out of there. But obviously it's been a terrible season for him. Trey Lance, he's missing this entire season. If Purdy steps in and does the Garoppolo-type job, Garoppolo, I think, gets traded either way, most likely, I think. And then they then can make a decision. Like, do we want to roll with this kid if he proves to be someone that could play the guitar? And I think the same thing with White. If White can finish strong and the Jets can go to the playoffs, are the Jets going to turn back to Zach Wilson next year or get somebody else? I think they'll think long and hard about it. So stakes are high for both these guys. They can really put their teams in a mind bender with a strong finish.
One link between them. I like that you paired them because I can't think of two other no-namers that
Day 3 draft
were
picks.
elevated to starting roles very quickly during a tumultuous season for two different reasons. And all in unison, both locker rooms are coming out of the woodwork to tell you how much they love these guys. And I mean, you can see it, number one, with what happened to Mike White physically. Like, the dude is a warrior. And I think he is probably in every personality, tick, and characteristic the polar opposite of what Zach Wilson projected to the locker room. And I don't know how the Jets could do anything more than give Zach Wilson a chance in the preseason if he's still on the team at that point, if you haven't moved him to get that job. I just would never go into the next Jets season with Zach Wilson. Maybe I'd be the one who'd be wrong if I made that decision and he goes somewhere else and thrives. But you can just see it or not see it with these guys on some level, and I see nothing with Zach Wilson.
Are you saying Mike White as a starter potentially going forward and Purdy as the backup to Trey Lance?
I think it's all in front of him. I think he has the respect of the locker room and the coaching staff. And Saleh, despite the fact that they lost, he thought he played really well and then was tough as hell. And I think if he could finish strong, I think he will have a hold of that organization, whether it's the right move or not.
Well, some context for this. Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
He set that up when he came back to the 49ers. So I think you're right. How Purdy plays informs that. Could we be having a Trey Lance Purdy conversation next year like we were having with Trey Lance Garoppolo this year? I'm with you. If Purdy plays well and he's played better than the C.J. Beathard's or Nick Mullinses of the world. He's already shown that he has higher potential.
I need to see. We're going to get to Thursday night, but we got to see that.
We'll see more. Mike White's a free agent, though, too. So that just
Ooh.
complicates it. He's going to have a job in the NFL next year. The Jets aren't going to be the only team that will happily give him that job. Certainly, they'll have pole position. If they want to keep Mike White, they can. But how he plays, you're right, over the next 4 weeks is going to change his life.
Mike White needs to maybe show his loyalty, though, to the family that
Go ahead.
brought him in and
You can hit it for Colleen. Go ahead.
gave him this opportunity. That's
Wait,
what you
hold
do.
on a second. Wait, go ahead. It's your turn. Go ahead.
I still haven't finished the movie. Mike White, he's got to show respect. He's got to show his family love. They showed him love. Otherwise, it would be a betrayal.
He put his body on the line for his teammates and for the city that he represents, and that will not be forgotten.
So he can't forget them.
Counterpoint. Every one of these films that you guys are aping has massive elements of betrayal that stir the plot. So it'd be perfect for him to do that.
Hopefully he has better decision making than locking up the Seahawks against the Panthers too, which the Lockfather did bring in great shape last week.
Son of a bitch. You will be judged for that in this life or the next by the Lockfather. All right, Colleen,
Okay.
I believe you also have some quarterback fun.
I do. Okay, so how about this one?
Stakes are high. Wait, are there on that last one? Were
what
the
are the
stakes
stakes
high, sloppy, or sizzling?
Wait, so this is the segment now we
Stake
choose?
scale?
I think they're high. I think stakes is high.
Stakes are high for the teams and the players in your case. Tim.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
felt
they're
a little,
high to sizzling.
little bit of a sizzle. There.
They're
Yeah.
sizzling.
Yeah.
They're
All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay. I think that the steaks are sizzling here.
Okay.
I like a rare steak. I don't like anything that is above that.
Yeah,
So
I mean, you're a woman, and I like that.
it can't be, if it's medium rare, gross. Don't even give it to me. It's overcooked. So Jared
I like
Goff.
it well done with ketchup.
Gross. Jared Goff is a guy who has so much on the line.
Oh,
a guy
okay.
that I didn't think at the beginning of the season would be in this position. But here we are with the Lions rolling, and he has them rolling at this point. Back-to-back weeks where he has played incredible 300-yard games. He hasn't had a pick. He's throwing these long bomb touchdowns. He's playing as well as he did when the Rams went to the Super Bowl. And he's doing it with Dan Campbell in Detroit with the Lions, which seems kind of unbelievable to me. And now you have guys coming in like Jameson Williams. This is a situation for Jared Goff where he has gotten his opportunity. He showed them that he can be the guy to take this team on a ride with him. And the Lions have 2 first-round picks coming up in the draft. What are they going to do? Now they're in a position where they don't necessarily have to have their hand forced to get a quarterback if they don't want to yet. Their defense needs so much help. They could use one of those picks to help the defense instead. They've already brought in some of these pieces to surround the quarterback, so maybe wait.
It gave me this memory of reading this 7,000 word long form about the Browns organization passing on Big Ben because they had Jeff Garcia.
Oh, no.
And I'm not saying that Jeff Garcia and Jared Goff are the same guy, but there wasn't actually perception-wise a huge difference between that they just delayed the idea of getting a guy that went to college in Ohio and did a tryout for them in the pouring rain because they had the prospects of Jeff Garcia, a veteran that they kind of liked, to come in. Great job, Butch Davis. But point being, I would just say the only thing about Jared Goff is it shouldn't prevent you from getting the number one, getting the top quarterback in the draft you can get. That's all. But their draft position makes that tougher than it would have been if you thought they were going to go 3 and 15.
They're 4th overall now with that Rams pick. So they will have a hard decision. And my initial instinct is this would be in the stakes are high category, not sizzling, because Jared Goff's made his money. He's proven this is a great story. It's a top 5 offense. But maybe it could be sizzling in the sense that if he leads them to a playoff spot, he's a legend forever in Detroit. It just in the sense that why are we talking just about money and what's going to happen next? Is this could be one of the most memorable things he ever does on this planet Earth is go bring the Lions to the playoffs. And that's why you play the sport. He can be an all-timer. And even if nothing happens after this year and they do take a rookie, that alone would be enough.
And that clothing line of his in Detroit.
Well, that's true.
I mean, everything he does right now is working out. I think he already has earned the right to sit down at the nicest steakhouse in Detroit and pour a big glass of water and then just pour it all over that steak.
Sloppy steaks.
It's a steak with water dumped on it. It's really, really good.
Yeah, like he deserves that
Sounds
already.
great.
And what I'm going to do is I think there's some half measures involved here with Gregg's take on this. If I was Brad Holmes, the GM, I'm saying screw this. I am keeping Jared Goff. I'm picking up the option on his contract.
Well, there's no option. He's just signed.
No, they have an out. They have an out after this year. It's not an option, but they have an out. They can get out of the deal. I'm sticking with Jared Goff, and I am selling that draft pick, and I am building that roster. I'm not even taking a quarterback unless you're absolutely in love with like a guy that you think could be Trevor Lawrence or something. Just go for it and give Goff. That's giving Goff his tulips.
I just think like the one thing we know about Goff is that offenses change year to year, and if Goff is suddenly put in an environment that's not great for Goff, you'll be the guy they're talking about on Sports Talk Radio.
Keep the environment great by continuing to bring in talent around him.
That's the obviously what you'd want to do.
Right.
But you would be the guy historically that passed on fill-in-the-blank draft guy that blew up and became Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes because you wanted Jared Goff after he won one playoff game.
Right. I want to have my sloppy steaks and eat them too. You know, I want to get the nice year and get the pick.
Like he's in the running for comeback player of the year too.
I just don't know what Jared Goff has to do to prove to you people that he should be the future in Detroit at this point.
Well, Baker Mayfield won a playoff game, and look where you are a couple years later. It just changes so quickly.
I think he's Peter Schrager made a good point about Goff, I believe on GMFB, that he's also shown that he's tough-minded, Goff. Like he was kind of viewed as a bust early in his career. He came on and became a star for the Rams and then was written off as a has-been by the time he got to Detroit, and then here he is again. I think sometimes people just see Jared Goff and they're just like, whatever.
No, it's good, but there's a lot of this.
I
so
see
is it going to
him
stay
more
up here? That's all.
I see him more as Alex Smith in
Not a
Kansas
roller
City.
coaster.
Yes, audio medium.
I see him as Alex
coaster.
Smith.
Yes.
But
he is. He's not this. He's not up all the way up here.
No.
But don't pass on your Mahomes. If
That's
whoever
all.
if you have the number 3 overall pick and it falls right to you and you like him.
Let me just couch it a little bit. If there's a guy you're sure about at quarterback, if you're absolutely in love with somebody who you think is a superstar, go ahead and get him. Otherwise, think hard.
And then you might be wrong. It might turn out to be Zach Wilson, and then you still have Jared Goff just chilling there.
Who needs fucking coaches, you know?
Exactly.
But in that case, then you burn the draft pick. Like, how great would the Jets be if they used that number 2 pick and got better on the team rather than take a gamble on a guy that, doesn't
He's
work
making
out.
their decision really difficult right now. And
I like
if he
that.
continues to play this way, it'll get worse.
What kind of stakes do we have? What kind of spelling are we using, Mark?
For that last one that we
No,
just
for
did?
you.
Well, I think the stakes are quite high for this individual.
What are this
A former
spelling
comeback
is-
player of the year. I think stakes, S-T-E-A-K-S, sizzling.
Oh, so
for
it's
this
meat.
person's the future
Ironic.
of this individual.
Yes.
Their human future. Here he
As
comes
opposed
around the bend, our old friend Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is sitting in Tennessee in this situation. Former comeback player of the year, stuck in an offense with a bare-bone cupboard, a GM that just got canned, an owner that said publicly this week, I don't like the way this roster is constructed. Ryan Tannehill is not Josh Allen. He's not a Patrick Mahomes. I think he's an acquired taste. I think Gregg and I like Ryan Tannehill more than the average person maybe, but he lines up to me as a person with zero guaranteed money after this season and an appropriate fall guy when you've drafted Malik Willis, and it's possible that if you look at the last time Tom Brady was out on the market, that Mike Vrabel with Patriots connections could maybe be a team that could lure Tom Brady in. Maybe they could trade for someone out there. And then Ryan Tannehill's career is back in another dimension where he's got to start all over. I just think that Ryan Tannehill, because I just find him as the true underdog quarterback that is never really viewed for how valuable he's been in Tennessee, that if this team that is in a free fall right now, you got 4 weeks to become the guy that turns it around, and we forget about this slump, and we look at Ryan Tannehill once again as someone that can come in, save an offense, and it's all about let's keep Ryan Tannehill, let's pay him again, or fix the guaranteed money situation, and put an offense around him because he hasn't had that. How many good quarterbacks have so little around them right now with the record they have, minus the last couple weeks, and a team that I think he fits so well. And they love him. And if or the whole thing goes south and he's looking for a job elsewhere, maybe he becomes Arthur Smith's Falcons quarterback a year from now.
I would be shaken and I'm already a little bit shaken in what's going on over there in Nashville, Gravedigger. But if they took A.J. Brown off the roster, didn't truly replace him with anyone, and then blame the quarterback after the season was over and get him out of town.
I could just see them gutting the roster, though, and Ryan Tannehill is not. They have to repay Ryan Tannehill, though.
They could trade. Well, he's under contract. I like his contract. It's weird that people think like, oh, that's a lot for Ryan Tannehill. $27 million is great for a starting quarterback at this point. The cap's gone up so much.
He's underrated.
You could get a draft pick for Ryan Tannehill in a trade.
The thing
I
about
just
his
could see
contract,
them moving him, that's all.
The thing about his contract is the cap hit this year is super high because they converted last year's guarantees and pushed him onto this year. But next year his contract gets a lot more manageable. So
it's the last year of his contract. He's sneaky 35 though. He was kind of old when he came in the league, and
he's 35.
He's about to be next year. Sorry, he'll be 35.
I would trade Derrick Henry if he had value before I would trade Ryan Tannehill.
There's a lot of Titans fans that are saying the Titans should have traded Henry around week 8 this year.
Really?
Go McCaffrey.
Oh
just time
well,
it.
you guys are on the ledge right now, but I understand like the idea, like spinning forward as an organization. How many truly elite years does he have left? Do you even count this as an elite year? Like,
Right.
where are we at Derrick Henry?
I think it also depends, like, does Malik Willis show enough that you feel comfortable moving on from Tannehill, or can you get a Tom Brady, and do you want him at this stage of his career?
I don't think it could be from
No.
Malik Willis because I think he's seemed super raw and shaky, and it's like a nice project. But I do think that if someone like Tom Brady, and they were like, "Look, we got a new GM, a coach you're aligned with." Maybe Tom Brady already got there and said, "I don't like that GM. Get this guy instead." And maybe I do like Vrabel. I'll come do all this and get some pieces in place that I like. It's just like he was slightly connected to Vrabel last time he was out there.
Do you have 8 o'clock delight? You want to do some speedy steaks?
Oh,
Some,
yeah,
like
that's
McDonald's steaks?
Yes.
Like throw them in that microwave thing?
Sure.
All right.
That's gross.
But we got to get it in under time. Go ahead, Greg.
All right, Saquon Barkley, free agent to be, had his big comeback year. Can he stay healthy? Can he make it through a year? Can he carry this Giants team?
Very good. Stakes are high there. Let's see the old Zeus. Oh, no, I wasn't ready, and I'm banging us. Connie, you go.
Oh my God. Baker Mayfield. He went from a punchline to a
that's
momentary hero. Can he keep it going and build his stakes even higher for next season?
Mark! All right, I have turned pro Mike McCarthy. I think he's done a great job.
Welcome to
a great
Zaddy
job this
Land.
season. I don't see him as a Zaddy on any level like you do, but I think he's a great coach. Credit to him. He's got a Titanic offense. There are really no excuses for that now to go win playoff games. And you've got that. I saw the look on his face when they were losing to the Texans like he was sucking on a lemon. I don't want to see that at the end of week 18 or the week after with Sean Payton hanging out there in the atmosphere and Mike McCarthy becoming an unfair fall guy.
Okay.
They got to keep him around.
You know what happened? You said a Titanic offense. You know what happened to the Titanic?
I do. It sunk.
Finally,
and then it became a movie that made a ton of money. So there's always a nice thing that can happen from those things.
Speaking of coaches, bubble coaches, Steve Wilkes, Brandon Staley, Dennis Allen, Lovie Smith. I'm not even going to bring up Nathaniel Hackett because I think he's done. All those guys can't collapse. Their team has to finish strong, or I think they're vulnerable.
I'd throw Ron Rivera in there just because the ownership is changing.
I think you got it in under that last little.
Oh, nailed it. That was good.
I got Drew, big 7'7" Drew with the mask on and the cap on, getting into my IM message like, you guys are 16 minutes in on the seg, throwing it to Mark. You want to just skip the second round? I said, no. You didn't know about this sizzling steaks and how the steaks can be steaks in a second. We did how many seconds?
Drew wanted to cancel my part of the segment.
He's like, let's wrap up the Mark thing and get out of the segment.
Drew, why don't you
speedy steaks.
Why don't you come on in here, Sec?
What an absurd concept by you.
He refuses to speak on the show. It's a clever move, actually. It makes him more mysterious.
Can we get him on camera? Can we at least give people watching on YouTube and surrounding territories?
I would like to also get a time code on. Let's get a time code on how long each of our inner segments were inside the segment itself.
Drew, can you at least turn to the camera and show the people?
He won't even turn. He's just the back of his head shaking no.
Let's not bury the lead here. Mark wants to start individually keeping track of each part of our mini parts of the segment.
In this one particular case, it's like, wrap it up.
Based on your previous interactions with producers, though, Mark, I would think you would love a producer that refuses to be on mic.
Right.
I mean, if we
you
wanted
famously want to keep them in the shadows.
I like enjoying some of them to talk with. Some of them have been great.
Drew is going the Wilson from Home Improvement route. He's like, I'm on the other side of the fence. You'll never see me. You'll hear me, but maybe in a different way.
It's perfect, Graver.
Let's take a break, and then it all paid off. We'll take a break and hit the Thursday night preview.
Are you ready?
Let's go!
It's a Saturday triple header. Only on NFL Network.
Lose yourself in a moment.
First, the Colts battle the Vikings. Then, the Ravens face the Browns.
Going in! Touchdown!
And the Dolphins take on the Bills in prime time.
I'm him!
Back to back to back.
I made you look.
It's a Saturday showdown triple header. Saturday starting at 1, only on NFL Network.
All right, welcome back. It is time now for the TNF preview presented by Prime Video, the new exclusive home for Thursday night football. Love it. Good one. Real good. Real good. What did Al Michaels call some of the games this year? Leaky on the Thursday night schedule.
Well said.
This one is not leaky. In fact, it's one of my favorite games of the week. The Seattle Seahawks, they need it. They need a win. They're watching their postseason hopes slide away. And who is coming into their building? The rampaging San Francisco 49ers with Brock Purdy at 9-4 with a chance to put on a T-shirt and a hat in Seattle. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. High stakes here as well.
Well, how rare is it that there's a division?
Rare steak.
Oh, that's my corner.
I like a rare steak. I'll get it medium rare sometimes, though.
French rare,
Either way.
even when it's like a little blue.
Well, now you're basically a savage.
That's
at this point.
the way that Mark just looked at me.
No, I was actually just in my mind conjuring the image because I do know what you're talking about, and it's strange.
At this point, you're a feral animal. You're like a mountain lion in Griffith Park that just found like a buck.
P22, isn't that what it is?
You're P22. C22. Go ahead, Greg.
The thing with a rare steak, though, it's got to be like weirdly. It's almost more important that it's well cooked. So it's like you're counting on
precision.
Right.
Good nugget. You're really counting on.
And I don't even really eat a lot of meat.
All right, that wraps up another edition of Around the NFL. We'll be back on.
So it's so strange that the 49ers can clinch the division on Thursday night. It feels like there's so much left of the season, 4 weeks, and yet if the Seahawks win this game, they're like right in this division race. Like it's as massive as a Week 15 game can be, and everything is trending against Seattle right now. Not only are they 2 games back over the last 4 weeks, and this is why I think Geno probably hasn't hurt himself that much. When you watch him, last 4 weeks or 5 weeks rather, according to Football Outsiders, they are dead last in rushing in the NFL. They are the worst running team in the league. Maybe they get Kenneth Walker back for this game. They are 29th in defense. So we're right back to September when they were one of the worst defense in the league. Within that, they're 31st in the league defending the run over those last 4 or 5 games. And you got to play against San Francisco, who finally this season, and it's been coming, is starting to look like the running team Kyle Shanahan wants. You rack up over 200 yards on the ground against a good Bucs run defense with CMC resting the last 28 minutes of that game. It's a bit of a nightmare for the Seahawks defense.
I thought getting a chance to rest so many Niners players was massive with it being Thursday night. And you're right. The Seahawks have allowed 200 plus on the ground average over the last 4 weeks. I think that's where you point to, like, why hasn't Geno been as well supported and why has he had some of these forced plays? It's like, well, they don't have the Kenneth Walker blowing up the scene like they were earlier in the year. And the Niners on defense are going to make it as tough as possible. Since that game, which feels so long ago when they were blown up by the Chiefs, they have allowed in individual games 14, 16, 10, 0, 17, and 7 points.
Wow.
They are the best defense in football right now. And I don't care if this is in Seattle or San Francisco.
Is he gonna?
Can I?
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, you can.
On a Tuesday?
Absolutely.
You know what? In a big spot. It is. I am on the fringe of death in the lock competition, so I'm just going to go with my heart. I'm locking the Niners.
All right. Now.
Whoa, has it been done before this early in the week?
I've done a few Thursdays because you get it out of the way. If you win, you're just rolling.
Here's the case why Mark is going to be sweating bullets on Thursday. Again, Thursday's weird. Thursday night is weird. Seattle, that building is going to be hopping. Seattle needs the game, and Pete Carroll's a good coach, and he's going to have these guys ready to defend their turf and make sure San Francisco isn't celebrating in their building. And yes, there are concerns here when you look at the matchup itself. I totally agree. I thought it was a borderline disgrace, and I think it factors in because it cost me a lock. But the way that defense got manhandled in the fourth quarter by Carolina's like it was like cadre.
That works.
Yeah, like a group of runners. A group of runners.
Yeah, all right, heed the call. No,
Amortized.
Yeah, they've been amortized all season.
She said amortized.
I tried to do like a Dan accent.
How try to amortize it?
Give her a break. She's been eating raw meat her entire life. She has worms inside her.
No, it's amortized.
Christian McCaffrey is gonna eat, and they're gonna use McCaffrey to help protect Brock Purdy and not ask him to do too much. But you're still gonna be asking this kid to make big throws in a very difficult environment. So, while if I had to pick a side, I would obviously say 49ers. But this game, I feel like with all the various things up in the air in terms of the matchup and the site of the matchup and when it is in the week, I feel like it's going to go down to the very end.
One little tiny out I'd have is if we found out in the next 2 days that this oblique injury for Purdy knocked him out and they put Josh Johnson in there, I ain't locking that up.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up because in general, I feel like you shouldn't be able to get out of the lock unless there's like a quarterback injury or something significant. Just moving off a lock for the sake of it feels...
Well, I also know a ton of people on these, like there's these Reddit, like people like, no, they shouldn't, it's dishonorable. It's like, I think we can do whatever the heck we want, but that would be one situation where if suddenly Josh Johnson is starting, no logical individual would lock that on the road in Seattle in a must-win game for the Seahawks.
That makes plenty of sense to me. But I think he's playing. Everything we hear is that it was more, they got good news on it. They won't have Deebo Samuel, of course.
Don't care.
Do we know that
you
for
don't
sure?
care?
I don't think we know that
I
for
knew
sure.
that when I locked it.
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah,
Deebo's definitely not in there.
They're just hoping he comes back by the end of the regular season, so he's out multiple weeks.
Yeah, so they're going to need Christian McCaffrey to help step up. The fact that they traded for him, brought him in, that helps them immensely at this point.
That saved their season.
Without Deebo, they're going to need Juwan Jennings to get more involved. They already use him a lot on third down, but just at the wide receiver position. And then the thing about Brock Purdy, if he is good to go with the oblique and the rib injury on a short week, it would be great for him to start in this game at Seattle in that atmosphere ahead of a playoff game. Like that is a situation that you want to throw him in and see how he reacts because he looked really good this week, but that's not how it's going to be in the playoffs.
He has shown so much though that I don't think you can teach. Like he has a great feel of the pocket. We know his nickname in the locker room that rhymes with Brock. And it's big, and I saw a little bit of that. Yeah, you haven't heard that one?
You saw a little bit of it?
No. What?
A lot of it?
I backed myself into a corner here. When he is going
what have you done, Gregg?
Across the goal line on his rushing touchdown, and he already starts like sticking out the ball at the other thing. Like he is a very confident
sticking out what?
Player. Sticking out the football. He's sauntering in there.
Holding it tight.
Very, very confident.
Squeezing it hard.
Oh my God, get me out of here.
They're doing no huddle like in his first start. Like he has shown some real deal stuff as a quarterback. And the Seahawks are 31st over the last month because they're bad at everything. They don't rush the passer well at all, and he'll have time to throw.
Gregg, you did a good job getting through that with Dan just chiding you the entire time and off in his own little childhood world.
It was my own
feels
fault.
good to hurt your feelings. No, whenever you could lock up Mr. Irrelevant on the road with on a Thursday night, you do it. So
I think it's a good lock.
Well, why not do something gutsy versus just mail in a 6.5-point favorite or something?
To me, this is not like
with like big implications on the line too.
I'm not picking on you, but I think this is right in between. Like they're a heavy favorite. It would be shocking the way the Seahawks are playing for me for them to lose this game.
I totally believe in the Niners winning this game.
Exactly.
So
you have them number 2 in the power rankings. Like they are a much better team than the Seahawks. The only reason I wouldn't lock it is I like the Seahawks. I want to root for them. I'm not going to be rooting against it, but I'd be stunned if they won this game.
I'm with you, Mark. I believe in your pick. I think it's a great lock. I don't make picks on the show, but I am taking the Niners.
You could take this particular lock once, right?
You want it just for fun?
That might be bad for my record, my overall locks
record. Have you ever locked? Let me check it out.
Actually, I think I have.
What is it, ATN lockups?
But it's been
I
years,
don't think there's like a website
if we're like the Lock Bros, Lock Zaddies, we'd have to have our own nickname too. I don't know what that...
The Lock Gals.
What?
Doesn't work for me.
No.
The Lock Ladies.
The Lackeys.
The Lackeys.
The Lackeys.
Another thing to workshop.
Yeah.
In real time. All right.
What's my record?
I don't know. It turns out that we don't have that data
Oh, great.
at our fingertips.
Let's go get my lunch that you think you have.
Convenient. It's convenient.
But I'm sure you were doing very well if it was tracked.
Okay, well.
Go for it. It'll only advance your record.
You know what?
I'm not saying in which direction,
I'm
but
feeling that like you and I are on the same frequency today.
Okay.
So I will lock them up.
Look at that. What are the stakes on that?
Sloppy.
Sloppy steaks at your Fonnies.
Yes, but I think you guys will come out of it. There's something about locking Thursday too. It's so nerve-wracking. It's the only. I was thinking about last week, sitting on the couch. Daddy pours a Tito's, and I thought to myself, this is literally the only game all week where I just get to sit down and watch it, and I don't have to go do a podcast after or work before.
Right.
I'm just gonna watch this game. I don't need the stakes of a lock.
You are right. I will say I locked a Thursday game a couple weeks ago, and it was well in hand, and it only added to that enjoyment.
Right. But what if it goes the other way is all I'm saying. But
well,
I like that
it has gone the other way, but I am sitting in third place. I have plenty of other things to be concerned about beyond the locked situation, this pantomime of a game that we play. And if I were to ever lose on Thursday night, I would somehow survive the situation.
Well, okay. It would eat you up a little bit, though.
I already am in that. I've been eaten up because I don't see myself winning this at this point. So now I'm doing wild things, and I'm going to do lock-offs with people from here on out and try to
I mean, you guys
wild
are
locks. I love
you guys
it.
are acting like this thing is over.
Oh, I already brought the trophy to give to you.
There's 4 weeks left of the regular season. There's 5 weeks. There's literally 9 weeks left.
It's
here.
over.
Yeah, we could do the ceremony right now if we wanted to.
I would choose
the
that we
changing
do.
of the trophy.
Yeah, choose that we do.
Take it out of my foyer, sitting on the marble presentation.
You're going to have to put something else there.
I hope there's a parade for
I'm
Gregg.
familiar with it. I had it in 2019, 2020, so
Right.
I know what it looks
So you
like.
have a spot for it already?
Right.
That's good.
But it's time for you to have it again because it's over.
No.
The trophy's like, I'm back in this house.
9 weeks to go.
Where's my marble presentation?
9 weeks. That's almost half
Sand.
the season. Can you imagine living with me?
That's what the trophy said. All right. There you go. Let's pick the game. You guys will be happy. It will be. Oh, no. Let's go the other way.
Wow.
Let's get behind the Seahawks keeping their season alive. Purdy gets brought down to earth a little bit. They'll still be okay. Just for fun, 28-24 Seahawks.
I think the 49ers will win. I think they will cover. Does anyone know what the line is on this game?
3.5.
3.5. Yeah, I think that I would definitely like the 49ers there. I hope it doesn't happen, but I think they'll rock 'em.
Seahawks 3, Niners 33.
That would be pretty similar to the Week 2 game. It is stuck in my mind that
33-3.
The Seahawks offense did not score a point against the 49ers in Week 2. And that was
there's a different Gino now, though.
I get it, but that was this season. He didn't play that bad. That was 27-7, though.
So you are writing
Wow.
Geno Smith off, and he's
No.
not planning to write you back.
It's more about the
As
Niners,
a player,
right?
no, I'm not. But I think this is like Tom Brady. I'm not writing Tom Brady off. I'm not entirely writing Tua off either. They were demolished by this
If
defense
the
over the last
Seahawks
2
score
weeks.
3 points in their building with their season kind of on the line here, that's going to be an indictment of the entire operation. So they need to step up in this game.
It would be.
All right. Good stuff, Colleen. You will be heading to Buffalo.
I'm so pumped.
So
I can't
enjoy
wait.
that.
I hope it snows so much.
So hard.
Who is Buffalo playing in that game?
The Dolphins.
Where do the Dolphins play?
Miami.
Hey.
You got a live one from me.
Can you give me a amortize in an old Zeuser accent again?
Amortized.
Amortized. Amortized over here as I sling my pizza pie over here now.
What a business.
I'm
you're
over here
going
now.
on there.
All right, thank you everybody for listening. We'll be back Thursday. Until then, you know what you need to do. Heed the call.